All right, so I had to grab my camera for this one. Drove the blue truck today, which I haven't driven it for probably a month, maybe more. And something wasn't right. It was running fine, couldn't tell anything performance-wise, although I didn't really get on it. But because I've got the fuel pressure gauge in the truck, I could see when I was driving it, I was running about 52 psi. And I said, something's wrong. It's never low. So I backed into the driveway, you know, I had to sweep out the garage and stuff, so I kind of forgot about it for a little bit. Went to fire it back up, turned the key, and I could hear something funny in the throttle body. I could hear like the fuel pressure was kind of going up and down. You know, I didn't look down at the gauge because I'm like listening to it, wondering what it is at first, not thinking about fuel pressure. But then I got to thinking about it, and I said, boy, I wonder if that fuel pressure, because it was when the pump was priming before I started it, when I heard that noise, I said, I wonder if the fuel pressure regulator's gone in this thing, because it's got the original China garbage in it. I've got a spare Bosch, though. I said, I better check it, so I slid this down. I wish I had it on camera. Let's see if there's any fuel still coming out of it. No, there's no more fuel coming out. There it is. See the fuel coming out? That's because the diaphragm in this thing is gone. Common failure part. I had kind of laughed for a while that I said, well, I'll run this crappy regulator until it dies. Well, it just died. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to swap this one out. I keep one in the glove box, a genuine Bosch regulator. If you watch one of my videos from, I don't know, 6 months, maybe a year ago, I go over all the part numbers for the Fitech units, including the regulator. But I'll go ahead and I'll show it again here when I go to change it. But that right there is a dead telltale that you've got a dead regulator if there's fuel coming out of it, and that is because the diaphragm inside is blown out and it is leaking. So real easy thing for us to change. I can probably even do it without taking the air cleaner off, although it'd be easier if it wasn't on there. So I might pop it off just to make it easier to see. But yeah, let's go ahead and get that thing changed out. All right, so hopefully the audio is halfway decent. It's always hard when you're leaning over a hood. We're going to go ahead and pop this guy out. Hope if I got the right size. I can't remember. This might be metric. It's been so long since I've taken one of these apart. And no, it is not. It is 5/32 for those wondering. And I forgot to grab a rag. When you take this out, there's going to be fuel. There's going to be fuel. It's going to leak out. So let me grab a rag. Usually I'm joking around. Usually joking around about damn Fitech, but damn Fitech, and I just got done doing a video on snipers. And in the video on the sniper in my Mustang, some of you have watched, I talk about OEM parts and how important it is that you use OEM parts. OEM parts, and I said it this morning, actually, when I did that video. I'm going to say it again now. OEM parts are subjected to QA, QC, and quality standards. Not to mention the engineering is QC'd as well. This regulator is made in China, and I'm almost certain that's a knockoff. And so it's not subjected to the same standards right now. And I think, it would be my guess they buy these things in bulk. And, you just don't get the same quality out of them. So, and by the way, these things have a tendency, if you let crap get in the system, they have a tendency to be subjected to that as well. So sometimes you want to take these out if you're having a fuel pressure problem and you want to check them. You want to check it anyways, because if you get something jammed in here, it either isn't going to return at all, it's going to be real high pressure, or it's going to stick the regulator open, it's going to give you very low pressure. That's why fuel pressure is very important. And that, by the way, I've got the fuel pressure gauge in the cab, which I did a video on adding that, the electronic gauge. I probably wouldn't have thought of this immediately if I hadn't noticed that the fuel pressure was a little bit low. I happened to glance at the gauge. This is the genuine Bosch unit, and I don't know if it's in frame or not because I'm kind of guessing right now, but This is it here. It's a long number, but it's the 575 unit, and the 575 is the 58 psi unit. Remember, the 400 units and the Mean Street 800 units are 43 psi. Because of the number of injectors, they run a lower pressure. These units, because there's only 4 injectors, that's right, they run them up close to 60 psi, 58. It's 4 bar versus 3 bar regulator. But anyways, this is the 575 Bosch regulator. This is genuine. I got it from Summit. Do not buy them on eBay or Amazon, because you're not guaranteed that you're not getting a counterfeit. Bosch stuff is heavily counterfeited, especially the 044 pumps, fuel pumps like I'm running in this. Those are heavily counterfeited. You will get a poor quality unit, and you'll be cussing it out going, why did my Bosch pump or regulator or whatever fail? Well, that's exactly why, because it's a counterfeit unit. So we're going to go ahead and pop this out of here. There's a couple of O-rings that seal it in here, and you see why I have the rag down here, because a little bit of fuel is going to come out. And I was afraid I should have unplugged that harness, because now I got fuel on the Tessa tape and it doesn't like that. I don't know if it's in there or not, and we'll get a close-up of it, but there's just a little bit of stuff on here, but nothing serious. There's a little bit of stuff in the screen. No problem. No problem at all. But the diaphragm, I guarantee the diaphragm is blown out. There should never be fuel in here. That means that the diaphragm is leaking. So it's really quite that simple. Very easy part to change. We're just going to stick the new one in here. I'm going to make sure there's not any crap in here or anything. It all looks really good though. No problems that I can see. But anyways, fuel comes in here into this screen, and it comes out right here. Regulator simply regulates it, and the vacuum can change the fuel pressure a little bit. I think the more vacuum it puts on it, the lower the fuel pressure is. That's to help cut down on fuel consumption under like heavy deceleration with the throttle blades closed. You can run it without that vacuum line hooked up, actually. But yeah, dead giveaway, fuel coming out of the vacuum line. So let me pop the new one in here, and then I'll just do it right now. Why not? Brand new Bosch unit. Here it is right here. Looking nice and clean, no problems. I don't see any parts missing. The O-rings, if you look, there's 2 O-rings that seal it, right? Return pressure, main pressure, right? I don't see anything funny. No dirt. This all looks healthy. There's a little bit of fuel in there, so that should help kind of get this seal in, because it might be just a tad cranky if not. I might have to put a little bit of, might just have to put just a little bit of oil on here. So hang on, let me get a drop of oil. Sometimes if there's not enough leftover fuel, it doesn't want to slide in. So we'll just put just a hair of oil on it. All right, put just a hair of oil on each ring to make it want to slide in a little bit easier. There we go. All right. Take the retaining bracket, slip it up over. Just like with anything, you want to just tighten these evenly on either side. Okay, they're both kind of seated. We're just going to give it a little bit. Doesn't have to be death grip tight, because remember, this isn't sealing anything. It's just holding the regulator in to keep the regulator from coming out. The O-rings are doing all the work. All right, so that's it. We'll put the Vacuum line back on here. Don't even need a pliers to do it. Slipped it right back on there. All right, perfect. Okay, that's it. All right, let's check the fuel pressure just with the key on here. Look at that, right on it, man. 58 on the nose. Let's fire it up. It's a little lower than I would expect, but it's not as low as it was. It was close to 50 before. That's 56, right? Well, let's see. 52.46. Yep. That's a couple PSI low, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's definitely higher than it was. It was running at like 50, 52. So, okay. Well, that's a new fuel pressure regulator install. And I'll go ahead and I'll double check this one too after it's run for a minute. I'm going to take it, I'm going to pull the vacuum line off of it again just to make sure that it's not leaking. But this looks good. Oh, and by the way, under vacuum, this pressure will be a little bit lower too. I bet it'll go up if I, well, it's, oh, because as I let off more vacuum, it goes down. Yeah, it's hard to tell when it's idling. You're not going to be able to see it under a little bit of vacuum. If I pull the vacuum line off of there, that fuel pressure is going to go up to 58 from 56. Let's do a little experiment with that, actually. Well, actually, before we do that, let's compare it to what it says underneath the hood. It's going up right now. It's in between. It's about 57. So, all right, let's go check it under the hood. All right, under the hood, it concurs. Let's pull the vacuum line off. Yep, exactly what I suspected. So, absolutely normal. It's running right at 60, which is absolutely acceptable with no vacuum on it. Let's put the vacuum line back on. All right. So yeah, it's doing exactly what it's supposed to. So no issues. Fuel pressure's right where it should be under, 8 inches or so of vacuum. That's about what this thing's got. So everything else looks good, no problem. So we'll pull it off after it's run for a minute just to make sure. But yeah, I'm sure that Bosch isn't going to leak. I mean, those are good quality OEM parts. So just a quick, easy one here, and it's a good one if you need to quickly diagnose whether you got a bad FPR or not. Because some people scratch their heads for a while if their fuel pressure's high or low. It's always a good place to look, right in that fuel pressure regulator. So we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Doesn't sound too bad either, does it?